What happened to John Sargent's children after they were taken in by other residents after the death of his first wife? After the suspicious death of John Sargent's wife Adelaide, accusations flew. Sargent didn't help the matter by going into hiding and abandoning their 5 children. Records vary what happened to the siblings, but some are reported to have been sent to Maine to live with Sargent's family. At least one daughter remained in Moran, and reports of a second are present, but scarce. More than 2 years after Adelaide's death, Sargent and his 4th child, Catherine, were discovered in the woods near their homestead. The report does not detail the presence of the other children. It is believed that Catherine lived with neighbors in Moran and did not join her siblings in Maine. What year did the last original bison population disappear from Jackson Hole? While a definitive year cannot be singled out, we know that bison were extirpated by the 1860s in Jackson Hole and by the 1840s in Idaho. This is about 2 decades before the first permanent white homesteaders arrived in the valley. Reports in the winters about elk feeding off of the ranchers' haystacks are numerous, and there is no reference to bison being present. There were reports of bison in the Red Desert and Pelican Valley into the early 20th century. Bison were reintroduced in 1948 when the Jackson Hole Wildlife Park opened east of Oxbow Bend. The bison had a habit of breaking through their enclosure until the last escape when the entire herd broke free in 1968 and it was decided to allow them to remain free. Would love to know more about how the current airport came to be. Wasn't the original near Fish Hatch Hill? There were once several airports in Jackson Hole. Before negotiations for the current airport were ironed out, there were once more than 5 in the valley. The majority were small private airstrips, but there were 3 that accommodated a higher volume of traffic. The first was near the rodeo grounds in Jackson, built circa 1934. Another was once located on Moose Wilson Road, east of the Beaver Ponds. Its airstrip is still visible from satellite images today. Between 1940 and 1943, the current airport was laid out after many years of complex negotiations. The land belonged to the federal government and Snake River Land Company. A commercial airport was seen at odds with the future plans to expand Grand Teton National Park. However, the only areas suitable enough for larger planes were north of town in the Sage Flats. The Jackson Hole Airport is the only airport operating inside a national park in the United States. Before the Elk Refuge was created, did great numbers of elk migrate through town? Before the town of Jackson existed, the elk in Jackson Hole had followed the same migration route for thousands of years. When the town was constructed, their route was blocked. While several elk would roam through town, many spent the harsh winters huddled near ranchers' haystacks. Because they could not reach the lower grounds where they could access winter feed, they became desperate. There is one account of an elk breaking into a barn and trampling the cows for access to hay. When it became clear that the majority of the herd could not survive winters, in 1912 the decision was made to form the Elk Refuge and enact a feeding program. Was the town of Kelly ever known as Elk? I know the original name was Gravant. Thanks. Wasn't it Grovant? The town of Kelly was originally known as the Bridge. It was one of the few river crossings in the valley and notable for being one of the first bridges. Gravant was the Mormon settlement to the northwest of Kelly, and Elk was another small community located near the Cunningham Cabin and the Moosehead Ranch. In 1914, when their post office opened, it became known as Kelly after local resident William Bill Kelly. While Gravant was originally named after a nearby river with the French spelling, it was later changed by the United States Postal Service. When the residents wanted to call their post office Gravant, it was deemed too difficult to pronounce or spell. Wanting to keep the original pronunciation, they changed the spelling. This photo shows the post office on the Chambers homestead with the new spelling.